Welcome, our beloved viewer of Uganda Catholic Television, Good News for All. Thank you for loving Uganda Catholic Television and for keeping viewing this program, the Responsible Citizenship, Responsible Leadership. In this program is always brought to you from the Justice and Peace Department of the Uganda Episcopal Conference. And in the studios today, again, I'm Emmanuel KIIZA ALIBA, the Executive Secretary of that department. I would like to tell you that we started a journey of bringing it to your attention, and for the young ones, of bringing to your knowledge the various pastoral letters that the bishops have written to us and for us. These letters contain very rich messages which we would like you not to miss. That is why we take time to bring them out to you so that you know the voice of the bishops right from independence, or even slightly before independence. We have been looking at the various letters, and the last Wednesday I was here, we looked at the last letter that the bishops wrote in regard to the constitution-making process. The bishops wrote 3 pastoral letters. The first was to guide the constitutional making body on how they should do their work. The second was a memorandum. The bishops submitted their views, the views of the Catholic Church in regard to the Constitution, what the Constitution should contain. And then the third one was to guide the last process of constitutional making and also prepare us to how to live in Uganda that had gotten now a new constitution of the Republic. Today I come again with another very interesting pastoral letter, very unique pastoral letter that the bishops wrote. This pastoral letter, the bishops called it, "Be My Witnesses, Be My Witnesses, the Vocation and Mission of Women." This pastoral letter was issued in 1996. This was a special pastoral letter meant for the women, the various categories or various strata of women. So for the women who are around, for the girls who are around, or those who are watching, or those girls who are not yet watching, please call them so that they listen to what the bishops talked about them and what the bishops wanted to teach them and what the bishops wanted to guide them. This is a pastoral letter meant for the women. This pastoral letter evolved in a very unique way and was done in a very special way. It's very different from other pastoral letters. From June the 4th to June the 6th, the bishops decided to have a 3-day study on the theme of women in the church and society. They sat at Gaba Seminary and they had that special program to look at, meditate, and study the mission and vocation of women. Lay women leaders worked in solidarity with the women religious. So they worked together, lay women and the religious women. They were together with the bishops. They all wanted the study session to lead to some clear and concrete decisions by the bishops. They invited 3 women, the 3 women leaders, and these 3 women leaders gave 3 leading papers on the role of women in the church and in society as a whole. At the conclusion of the study sessions, several important decisions had been made by the bishops. These included, number 1, the establishment of the women's desk at the Uganda Catholic Secretariat. So now, for those who would like to ask, when was the birth of the women's desk at the Secretariat? Now you have the answer. That came as a result of this unique letter that the bishops wrote, the unique pastoral letter that the bishops wrote to the women. So one concrete thing that came as a result of this pastoral letter was the establishment of the women's desk at the Catholic Secretariat. And they wanted also to see how the women would be promoted in the various positions in the church and in society. The promotion of women in the positions of leadership in the church and in society. That was a key issue that the bishops dealt with in their study session. And they also dealt with the holistic support of women's rights and struggle in education, economic, and political empowerment. That was a key issue. How do the bishops support the women's struggle for equal opportunity in the areas of politics, in the areas of, economic and social? The women were struggling. They wanted really to possess or repossess their very position in society. But they also needed the voice of the bishops. So the bishops gave them time. The bishops listened to them. And the result was the issuance of this pastoral letter. The bishops decided that the ideas to be included in this pastoral letter should emerge from the consultation with women at all levels and standards. The bishops would then study their proposals, and from them came up with a pastoral letter to empower them. So this is the uniqueness of this pastoral letter. In other pastoral letters, the bishops, in their own wisdom, gave guidance, gave teaching, gave guiding principles to the people. But in this pastoral letter, the bishops listened to the women. The bishops gave time to consult the women at all levels. That is why you see their meeting started on the 4th of June and ended on the 6th of June, 1993, but the letter was issued in 1996. That period of 2 to 3 years was a period of consultation, was the period of talking to various categories of women, wherever they were, so that whatever message they would give would be appropriate and suitable to the women's aspirations. So this is the uniqueness of the letter. It came out of a deep consultation with the women themselves. So during those days, several meetings and workshops were held until finally the bishops got all their proposals and put them together and then issued this pastoral letter. We are told that this was the very first pastoral letter in Uganda and in the rest of Africa to be totally on the theme of women from the Catholic bishops. The first of its kind in Uganda and in Africa. A letter that specifically was given to the women. You can see our shepherds. The love they have in regard to the vocation and mission of the women in the family, in the church, and in society. Our shepherds are talking to the women of all levels, from the girl, child, the baby, up to the big mother, all levels of women. The decisions made by the bishops were implemented, although they needed constant monitoring. The way forward was paved, and the challenge remained on the Catholic women to fully utilize this teaching and support from their Catholic bishops. So with this letter, the women had and have no excuse not to participate in all spheres of society, right from family, church, society, politics, economics, because the guideline is here. The bishops have given it. Now, let's look at a summary of this letter. So let's go through it briefly. This letter was issued in 1996. And in the introduction, in part 1, they gave the aims and context of their message. They say, in number 2, our message is on the vocation and mission of women in the church and in our society today. It is on the women of all categories, wives and mothers, widows and single women, women leaders, women religious, young women and little girls. So this message is all-encompassing to all the women, not only of Uganda, but all the women in the world who have accesses this letter. And number 4, they say there is a new strong awareness among women in our country in these recent years. The manner in which women have actively participated in leadership, especially in the resistance councils at all levels, and engaged in decision-making structures and organizations of our country, has greatly impressed everyone. So the bishops were getting impressed in the manner in which the women were coming up and participating in the various aspects of society. So this, because of this, they had to give their support to the good activities that were done by the women. There have been 2 important conventions organized by the United Nations for the purpose of rectifying the situation. There was the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against women in 1977, and also the recent convention in Beijing, China in 1995, which was Action for Equality, Development and Peace. So they are basing on those international conventions that have taken place. They had time to study them so that they are able to guide our women in Uganda. During his recent pastoral visit to Uganda in February 1993, the Holy Father, John Paul II, called on all Ugandan women at Namugongo and said, "Let your voices be heard in the family and in society." This was a powerful sentence by the Holy Father, Pope John Paul II, that let your voices be heard in the family and in society. Women, let your voices be heard in the family and in society. Mind you, the voice does not even need to be, you know, to be loud. Some voices are silent, but let your voice be heard. So wherever you go, you, our dear mother, you are the women out there, let your voices be heard. You know? So, in part 2, from number 7, the bishops took time to give the sources of how we should understand the vocation and mission of women. And they first dealt with the biblical teaching. The bishops gave a deep foundation on the biblical teaching of the vocation and mission of women. And they brought in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, you know, they brought examples from the Old Testament, the examples of Sarah, Ruth, Esther, and the mother of the 7 brothers in the 2nd book of Maccabees. They brought those examples. And in the New Testament, they brought the example of our Mother Mary. Our Mother Mary, the Blessed Virgin Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus. She had a very unique position in the history of our salvation, a woman. And they brought other women in the New Testament, Mary of Magdalene, you know, who was sent to bring the news of the resurrection to the apostles. I remember the beloved 2 friends of Jesus, Mary and Martha, the sisters of Lazarus. At home, we have the Mary and Martha at home. They love each other so much, and they move together. And they, you know, they have their unique characters, Mary and Martha. Martha has her unique character, and Mary has a unique character. So the bishops bring out those names in their pastoral letter, giving the foundation of the vocation and mission of women, the biblical foundation. Then they say on number 8, they say, we call upon the Christian women to learn to read and study the Bible with the new eyes and the new heart. Once you, our mothers, learn to study the Bible, you will discover your role, your mission, and your vocation in the family, in society, and in the church. This is what the bishops are saying in number 8. they also traced the mission and vocation of women in the Christian tradition. So they gave it here in number 10. So in the long history of Christianity, we find many examples of women who, inspired by the gospel, made tremendous contribution to church and society and remain worthy challenges to imitate. So in our tradition, in our history, in the church history, we have very many women, the doctors of the church. Here the bishops talk about them. The women teachers, the doctors of the church, the religious, those who founded different congregations. Faustina, Agatha, Cecilia, Saint Teresa, but Teresa of Avila, Teresa of the Child Jesus, Teresa of Calcutta. There are many women. So in our tradition, there are very many women who have played a key role, not only in the life of the church, but also in the life of society, and also in their homes. Monica, you remember Saint Monica, the mother of Augustine, who prayed for his son until his son came from the other bad life to being baptized, to being ordained priest, and also becoming a bishop. The woman praying on her knees consistently and constantly. So those strong women will, and the bishops are saying, women of Uganda, emulate those women in our tradition, those strong women in our tradition, and also read about them. Now we have smartphones. Smartphones should not be for Instagram and, what are these, WhatsApp and so on. Only, no. They should also help us to make research on these women teachers, the doctors of the church, the fundraisers of congregations, St. Catherine of Siena. Let's read about them. This is what the bishops are telling the women, are telling you women, for you to clearly identify your role, know it, and then do it, so that you are true to yourself as you are serving God in humanity. The bishops also gave a foundation for the recent church teaching on the women. There are very many letters here written, which the bishops wanted you, the women, to read. The Family in the Modern World, 1982, the Social Concern on the Church, 1987. They gave a number of them in their pastoral letter here, plus their own pastoral letters. They say you look at at least those two pastoral letters, Shaping Our National Destiny and Let Your Light Shine. One given 1962 and the last one given 1992, which we dealt with here when we were just beginning this program. Dear viewers, we'd like to go now for a commercial break. And when we come, we shall continue with this bishop's pastoral letter, a unique one for the women, and we shall see how the bishops now are identifying the obstacles that are leading towards the failure of the women to fully participate in the affairs of society and of the church. Let's meet after the commercial break. Thank you, and keep watching Uganda Catholic Television. Good news for all. welcome back our beloved viewer from that break. Before we left, we had started dealing with a unique pastoral letter that the bishops wrote to the women. And before we left, the bishops had traced the mission and vocation of women in the Bible, both New and Old Testaments, in the tradition of the church, and in the new teachings and in their pastoral letters. Now, they tried also to study the obstacles, to analyze the obstacles which hinder the women from achieving their equality and full participation. And the first one, they said there are obstacles which are still preventing the achievement of full dignity for women and full empowerment in their participation in church and society. The first obstacle in number 16 that they gave were the cultural obstacles. Cultural obstacles. They identified here the superiority complex of men, the superiority feeling of men, which tries to enforce an inferiority complex on women. And they say this should be discarded. Hey, now you men who are watching, the bishops are saying, leave the women to express themselves. Who tells you that your voice is the voice that must always be heard at home and everywhere as a man? No. Culturally, those tendencies have to be avoided. The superiority feeling which puts inferiority complex among the women. The bishops say, that's not good. It keeps the women down. We need to uplift them. Wife beating. This one I always I always laugh at this one, wife beating. I really laugh at men who beat their wives. I've never beaten mine, and I've never thought of it. Beating a wife. How do you begin beating a wife? Surely. Wife beating. I call it the animalic way of solving problem. This is my own word. Animalic way of solving problems. When you beat, you have come all the way from human way of solving problems to an animalic way. Because a cow does not have time. If the other cow comes and eats its grass here, it doesn't have time to negotiate. It just eats with a, But this is not human. That is an animalic way of solving problems. I really laugh at women who beat their wives. Anyway, I'm not in that class of beating wives because I married a very beautiful wife. And she has very beautiful eyes. I like seeing those eyes as beautiful as they are. Now, I don't want to see any tear rolling from her eyes. I don't like seeing that. It's a bad scenario for me to see a tear rolling out of my wife's eye. And because of that, I cannot beat my wife. But the other thing, she's also, we have to value, our mothers. This is a mother to children. And big children at that, even if he was small, The mothers have their special dignity. Now, how do you start beating a mother? You men also style up. Those were things of before 1900. Not in this era. Not in this era. The bishops are very emphatic about wife beating. This is so because of this beating, then there is forced separation or divorce. A divorce. You know. The commercialization of dowry at the marriage of daughters, you know. Commercialization of dowry. Really, you the men out there who are watching Uganda Catholic television, you wanted to get rich from dowry. If all things have failed for you to be rich, now you want to sell your daughter so that you get rich. No. That's commercialization of dowry. Oh. Actually, you should be the happiest that your daughter has brought for you another son. Now you have 2 children, a son and a daughter. So you should be the one to prepare the feast. Because of joy that you have produced another son in the house. That is it. I told my firstborn, Angela, I say, I will not make a graduation party for you. But when you come for introduction, you bring me a son, I will make the biggest party for all of you at home. Why? I will be having now 2 children. I have one biological, but I have another one now who has come out of, this one. Then there is here the practice, the exclusion of women from sub-clan, clan, and ethnic group meetings and leadership. Women's voice not being heard in the clan meetings. They sit the other side, let the men decide for women. Some cultures here are still doing that. When you go to some places, the women cannot sit next to men. No, be the other side. So the bishops are saying these are hindrances towards the women achieving their total fulfillment of their vocation and mission in society. The practice of child marriage, child marriages. And there are very many, someone is in primary 5, the girl is already getting married. What do you do at primary 5? So this demean our girls, this demean our mothers, this demean the women. So the bishops in number 19 say, in general, our African cultures must seriously examine themselves to discover the values that can remain as they are, those values which need to be modified to be relevant, and the negative elements which need new worthy substitutes, and those oppressive elements which must entirely go without any substitute. So we have to re-examine our values. We promote the beautiful values, and we discard those values that do not promote the dignity of our mothers, the dignity of women, the mission and vocation of women. They also identified in number 20 the educational obstacles, educational and religious obstacles. So they said the women have lack adequate education. So there are some impediments there that have kept the women not getting full education. You find in primary one, there are many girls. But as you move to senior 6, you find less girls than boys. As you move to graduation day after the degree, you find much less of the girls than the boys. And the boys, the bishops are saying these educational obstacles that cause that hierarchical disadvantage should be avoided. They also identify the obstacles from inadequate unity and solidarity among women. Their cholis have a word called ata. That it's, women are still ata. Women are still scattered. You have not yet come together. You have not yet united. You know, the more united you are, the bigger force you become. I have seen the united women. Oh my God. I have moved throughout this country and I have seen where women are united. I don't say the sky is the limit because sometimes I go above the sky. The heavens are the limit. Like I have seen the Catholic women of Soroti Diocese. Oh, I met them. I talked to them. I felt so good. A very powerful, you know, a very powerful force in, you know, I felt so good. When I'm meeting the women of Hoima, the way they are united, I feel so good. The women of Hoima Diocese, oh my God. You know, last time they were giving me a report in their annual general meeting, how they are performing financially, just by coming together, forming a circle, and you know, the circle started with very little money, but in a record of 2 years, they had gone over 300 million, you know, women coming together. I've heard about also the women of Lugazi Diocese. I will meet them soon. I will go there and meet them. Then I have met also the categories of women entrepreneurs wherever you go. You find them very powerful. When I was in Rakai district, I met the women entrepreneurs. Oh my God, I looked at them, I loved them. Because they were telling me government gave them 50 million for a myoga. And now they had made over 500 million in the record of 2 years by themselves, women entrepreneurs. So what the bishops here are saying, I really understand that when women come together and they unite, that force is wonderful. They can move mountains, if I may say. But the problem here is their inadequate unity. The women are not yet united enough to cause a big impact in society. This is what the bishops are saying in from number 22 to number 24. So they say, we call on Catholic women to be united and work together in the parishes, dioceses, and at the national level to promote their dignity, increase their input in church and society. This is number 23 of this letter. bishops are calling upon women to work together. Then in the final part of the book, which is part 4 of this pastoral letter, the bishops gave concrete proposals towards full participation of women in church and society. So the bishops gave concrete proposals. Number 1, they gave concrete proposals in women participation in the church. That is number 25. They say all the baptized women and men share in the triple mission of Christ through the sacraments of initiation. They are a priestly people, kingly people, and prophetic people. Well, when I hear this, I remember our song, our hymn. Priestly people, kingly people, holy people, oh, chosen people, give thanks to the Lord. We used to sing that when we were in the seminary. Kingly people, priestly people, all chosen people. So the women, how this is what you are in the Catholic Church. So they say their common priesthood enables them to participate fully in worship and sacramental action. Their kingly character makes them leaders and servants among the people of God. And their prophetic mission makes them work unceasingly for the truth, denouncing evil and injustices, and preaching the word of God without fear. So this is what the bishops are saying for you, our mothers. Then in number 26, the bishops gave also a concrete proposal on the women, especially being the mothers in their families as a domestic church. Remember, the bishops are also inspired by the first African synod that had just taken place in 1994, where the issue of the domestic church and the small Christian communities was very loud in that synod. So the bishops, as they are giving guidance to the women, they have that background. They have participated in the first African synod. So they say the women have a key role in the family as a domestic church. As I told you last time, I saw this during COVID, when we were all told, go home. So we went home. So there we could see the role of a mother. The mother. Because we were all there. I was at home, my wife was at home, all our children were at home. So we could see the role of the mother. So the bishop said, the family is the most important human and Christian school for all this domestic church. You know, it is a school. Yes, the school. The family is a school. That's why traditionally you do not marry boys or girls and so on the street. No. You marry from the family. From which family? From which family? You know? I have a boy, but from which family? You know? So then they said, the fathers of African Synod have been so much impressed by the relationship which exists in the African family. So they related now, they brought out the teachings of the first African Synod. So the bishops are saying, we have so many types of families, families headed by widows, single mothers, single women with children. So we have institutions of orphans and educational institutions headed by women. We have families of all religious women living together and many others. All these types of families demand similar attention from those who preside over them. The women heads of those families are called upon to make Christ fully present and alive in their midst, to educate all people entrusted to them with commitment and inspiration. So, the role of the women in families. Then the role of women in the small Christian communities. The bishop said, number 31, Catholic women have been continued to be the backbone of the small Christian communities throughout the church in Uganda. Our mothers are the backbone of the small Christian communities throughout Uganda. And indeed they are. Yes, indeed they are. Wherever you go, you find women very active in almost every, every part of the church. Those who are cleaning around the church are women. So that role in the small Christian communities. Then the bishop said in number 35, at all levels of the church, women have the right and call to play their rightful roles in sub-parishes, in parishes, diocesan communities. They should be represented in decision-making bodies in order to make their voices heard and contribute to the common good of the church. They have to be represented. So, and then they said at the national level, number 38, they say that immense contribution of women at the national level should not be ignored or simply taken for granted by society. The bishop said, we wish to join those who appreciate the role of women in our economy to assure women that without their dedication and hard work, there would be no economy well to talk of. So to appreciate the role of women at the national level. So then they also identified, they gave that, they said the women need also to be taken through the leadership. Leadership is a fruit of well-prepared education program. They need a very good and well-targeted leadership program so that we can raise women leaders in all spheres of society. In our country, in all levels of our country, we should find women leaders. Somewhere we were in Bujuni Parish, I think Father Agapitus Agapitus is my friend, was celebrating 25 years as a priest in Bujuni. We were ushered in by women. So the women wearing their yellow garments were the ones ushering in the Christians and the visitors, You are well received by a mother. A mother receiving you. That warmth of being received by a mother. I was very impressed, to find yellow women wearing yellow and ushering in. When it comes to offertory, you find women in yellow bringing out the offertory, and I saw it also, I usually see it in, I was one time with the Mothers' Union. I could see the Mothers' Union, what the women do in the Anglican Church as Mothers' Union. Of recent, I've been with the Muslim women of Bunyoro. I loved what they do, the Muslim women of Bunyoro. They are all together and working together in harmony. So I like this as the leadership component of women. And then number 43, the bishops brought about the economic and political participation of women. You know, who tells you that a woman is supposed to be poor? The women have to participate equally in the economic sector. There is no sin for a woman to be rich. There's no sin. There's no sin in that. Tekiri mustani. There's no sin for a woman to be rich. It's not only the man is supposed to be rich. No. I'm happy I see some women are really, they have some money. So economically they have to participate, the bishops are saying. They have also to participate in the political. Now we have the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Lupo. This is excellent. We have the Right Honorable Prime Minister, who is a woman. You know, these are the people women should emulate in as far as political participation is concerned. There are many other women who are in good leadership positions. So this is all the young girls, or the, you know, emulate those very good women who are participating in the various leadership positions, especially politically. So the bishops now conclude their letter and say, we commend the Catholic women of this country to the protection and guidance of our Heavenly Mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary. May she always be your model and our mode of accepting readily the call of God to shoulder all the responsibilities entrusted to you. Learn from her the management of a truly Christian family, the family of Nazareth. Take her example in listening to Christ and always meditating on his word and ministry. Be one with all church ministries as she was with the apostles in prayer and ministry. Imitate all her virtues which inspire the church. May your new identity, new ministries, both in church and society, be so carried out as to bring new life and culture of civilization, of love to all God's people. And on behalf of the bishops, Bishop, the late Paul Kalanda, the Bishop of Fort Portal, signed this letter as chairman of Uganda Episcopal Conference at that time. Dear viewers of Uganda Catholic Television, thank you for loving this television. Thank you for watching this television, and keep supporting this television till we meet again next week with another pastoral letter of the bishops. Have a very good day and keep watching.